With early voting in full swing and less than 3 weeks to go before Election Day, the political landscape is heating up. Kamala Harris and the Democrats have surged ahead, outpacing Donald Trump and the Republican Party, as millions of Americans have already cast their ballots, signaling a fierce battle in key swing states. The early voting period has kicked off with a bang across several states, and the numbers are revealing a potential shift in momentum. Over 8 million voters have already cast their ballots either in person or through absentee voting, and the Democrats, led by Kamala Harris, are seizing an early advantage. According to tracking by TargetSmart, more than 4.5 million registered Democrats have voted so far, compared to 3.1 million Republicans. This early turnout is crucial, as the battle for the White House narrows down to a few key battleground states. While Donald Trump continues to dominate headlines, it is Harris and the Democrats who seem to be making significant strides in the early voting phase. Democrats have historically been more likely to cast their votes early or by mail, a trend that persists in this election cycle despite former President Donald Trump's criticism of the process in the past. However, this time around, Republicans are changing tactics. GOP leaders have actively encouraged their voters to embrace early voting options, realizing the importance of capturing every available vote. Despite these efforts, the data shows that Democrats are leading in early and absentee voting, especially in critical battleground states that could determine the outcome of the election. In states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and North Carolina, the Democrats are surging ahead. In Pennsylvania alone, over 461,000 Democrats have already cast their ballots, far outpacing the 193,000 Republicans who have done the same. The early voting trends in these states are significant, especially given that these swing states were instrumental in determining the outcome of the last few presidential elections. Wisconsin, a state that will start in-person early voting on October 22nd, has seen 112,000 ballots from Democrats, compared to just 53,000 from Republicans. These numbers underscore the uphill battle Donald Trump faces in regaining ground in states that are crucial to his path back to the presidency. However, the early voting results aren't entirely one-sided. In states like Arizona, Georgia, and Nevada, Republicans are leading the early and absentee voting. Arizona has seen over 87,000 Republican ballots cast compared to 67,000 Democratic ballots, showing that the GOP still holds a strong base in key regions. Georgia, too, is shaping up to be a competitive state, with Republicans slightly outpacing Democrats by 9,000 votes in early turnout. This mixed picture across battleground states suggests that while Harris may be leading the early voting charge, Trump's support remains formidable, and the final outcome is far from decided. Women, in particular, are a driving force in this surge of early voting. More than 4.4 million women have already cast their ballots compared to 3.7 million men, a significant gender gap that could have profound implications on Election Day. Women voters have been a pivotal demographic in recent elections, and their higher participation rate could tip the scales in favor of the Democrats. In Pennsylvania, for instance, over 55% of early ballots have been cast by women, showcasing the growing importance of female voters in swing states. The early voting data paints a picture of a divided nation, with key regions still very much in play. In states like Nevada, where early in-person voting has just begun, the race is tight. The 5,700 Republican ballots cast so far show a slight edge over the 2,300 Democratic ballots, but as more votes come in, these margins could shift dramatically. Meanwhile, in North Carolina, early in-person voting has broken records, with more than 350,000 people turning out on the first day. Democrats have cast 156,000 of these ballots, compared to 142,000 by Republicans, once again illustrating the fierce competition in swing states that could make or break either candidate's campaign. As early voting continues to unfold across the country, the battle lines are being drawn for the final push toward Election Day. While Kamala Harris and the Democrats currently hold a lead in early turnout, Donald Trump and the Republicans are far from out of the race, especially in key states like Arizona and Georgia. With millions of votes already cast and millions more expected, the momentum is building for a showdown in the swing states that will ultimately decide the presidency. Whether Harris's early surge will translate into victory or if Trump will rally his base in the final weeks remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: this election is shaping up to be one of the most closely watched and hard-fought in recent history.